we'll start. Welcome to the Manchester is Blue show. Just got a message come in. One of our admins, Steve, is works for the NHS, working within a pharmacy. He was going to come on tonight, but he's called away last minute to do an emergency prescription. Out of all excuses to not do a podcast, fair play to you, Steve. We've just finished our 1 or 2 minutes clapping for the NHS guys as well. So thank you as always to everyone who's part of the NHS that's listening to this. If this show brings you any kind of smile during your day, I would make this totally worthwhile for me and from everyone else. I'm sure you'll all agree with me. Great. Okay. Right. Let's crack on. We've got a bit of an agenda. We're going to go through a little bit of information about the birthday quiz next Saturday. Got some prizes to give away as well. Dave's going to have a bit of a chat about Eddie Large. Is that all right, Dave? Is that all right with you?
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome, mate. Dan, you mentioned you've got a topic to run past. Do you remember what that was, or do you want me to remind you?
No, that's fine. Yeah, I remember.
Chris, you mentioned you got a topic as well. Same question?
Yeah, I'll be fine with that.
Yeah, fantastic. Then we're going to go on to the Who Am I quiz, bit of a tricky one for you today. And then we're going to do a bit of a review on 4 midfielders. And then we're going to go through a bit of gossip and a bit of news, and then finish off if that's okay. We're kind of saving all our quiz questions to next week for obvious reasons, because I think it's going to wear a bit thin on the old question mark if we start using them every week. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah.
Are these quiz questions by Halifax?
Yes, they are, and I have had to amend a few for swearing. I have to play to my audience next Saturday, and he sent a load through, and I said, "Oh mate, I'm going to have to get rid of that 6 of these." He's put a section on what's it called? He's put a section on city songs, which is a fantastic idea for adults in the room.
Yes.
And then I thought to myself, do you know what? There's a good chance my daughter will watch it on YouTube next Saturday. I thought, I can't sing some of these songs. So bless you, Dan Halifax. We need 6 more questions from you, pal, because I've deleted a few.
Right, it's another week. Dave can't cheat.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I hope you can all make it next Saturday. No problem if you can't. If you can, it'd be great to get your input. Saturday, the 11th of April. We're going to start off at. It's not normal we do Saturdays, as you guys know, with the admin lot. But it's coming up to our 7th birthday. Manchester is Blues' 7th birthday, which seems absolutely bonkers that it's been going that long. It started off as a bit of fun, like posting a bit of pictures of me going to City, to me posting other pictures on Twitter, and before we know it, we've got 90,000 followers on Facebook, 23,000 people on Twitter following us, and it's coming up to our 7th birthday. So we're going to do a bit of a special next Saturday, the 11th. We're going to start off at 7:30. Going to do half an hour's worth of a mini show, and then we're going to kick in to do a quiz. Start the quiz at 8:15, and it's going to be 40+ questions all around City. So you've seen all these things on the internet recently where people are doing pub quizzes because we can't go out, bit of something like that. This is purely focused around City, so it's just for fun. We've got some prizes as well. We've managed to speak to a couple of providers of City-related gifts, and they've been extremely generous. So during this week and the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be putting a bit of advertisement on our pages for them. So they do some fantastic products. There's some mugs, some City prints, some retro shirts, and a few other bits and pieces that you'll be able to win next Saturday as well. So if you listen to the show on Thursday and you listen to the show on Saturday, you'll hear a bit more about that. But let's jump straight into this. We've heard of the passing of Eddie Large today. Massive blow, both in character and personality. I have distant memory of Eddie Large and his comedy duo. And Dave, I believe you got a bit of a story about him.
Yeah. So I mean, being a little bit let's put it this way: being the oldest on the admin team for Manchester is Blue, without giving my age away. I mean, honestly, I grew up watching Little and Large. I really did, and obviously going to the games with my dad. Always see Eddie Large there as well. You know, if no one doesn't know, you know, he as a boy he actually lived opposite Main Road, which must have been absolutely something for him. But is absolutely devoted to City. You've probably seen photos over time of him sitting on the bench with Malcolm Allison, with Joe Mercer, John Bond in particular when he took over in 1980. And just think of that as just being a regular fan who loves the club, actually sitting on the bench with your team. I mean, that just must be absolutely incredible for him. So, yeah, I mean, like, funny story that everyone knows about Eddie Large is he was invited to the 81 semi-final of the FA Cup by John Bond to sit on the bench at Villa Park. When Paul Power banged in that winning goal, absolutely smashed his head, nearly knocked himself unconscious on the bench. I mean, that's how much it meant to him. So, I mean, fair play. I'm sure we would have done all the same. And it's so nice sometimes when you see someone who just absolutely loved the club just be able to take it to that next level and sit on the bench with the heroes and just have a laugh about it. So, yeah, rest in peace, Eddie. You will not be forgotten.
Absolutely, well said, sir. Well said. I'm going to put a couple of comedy sketches that he's done on the Facebook page over the next couple of days, just to give the younger generation a bit of an idea of his comedy genius. And the comedy is a bit older than this generation, but you'll kind of get a good understanding of why he was loved by a lot of people over the country, and obviously a big blue as well, which obviously helps as obviously a personality builder. Dan, you mentioned you'd have a bit of a topic you want to have a chat to us about tonight. Do you want to crack on and tell us what you want to talk about?
Yeah, obviously the circumstances I wish were better, but it is related regarding the coronavirus, and it's just to sort of highlight and give a shout out to our owners over this whole period of the virus, because it was announced within the past week and a half now that City Group have opened the doors to the Etihad and the training campus to all NHS workers. They're able to use the facilities, any sleeping arrangements, anything like that, any of the utility facilities that are available. City, our owners, have just completely opened the doors to them, and I just think they deserve a massive shout out, because I don't think they're getting it, and I'm not 100% sure. But I have seen it on many other blue mainstream medias that the City Group, that is partnership with our owner, he actually is part of the group that is the founding member of the Excel facility down in London, that's opened its doors to thousands of beds that are helping to tackle the coronavirus. That's the one, yeah, Nightingale, yeah. Apparently our owner is somewhat coincided with all that, and he was one of the main voices to open it up and open the facility up to turn it into a makeshift hospital. And on top of that, Pep Guardiola, I think we mentioned it on the last podcast, but it's not worth mentioning again, donated on €1 million of his own money towards the Spain side of the crisis, which I think 1 million is out of anybody's back pocket. That's got to burn a hole, but it shows what the true character he is and how much he cares for his country. And I just don't think they're getting enough shout out and for what they're doing in the football side of things. So basically just a big shout out to our owners and Pep in general as well, just for everything they're doing. I hope everybody and I'm sure you lads will follow me with this, anybody who's suffering with the virus, or anybody who's got anyone family, all the best to you. I hope you can pull through it.
Absolutely. And when we well said, pal, when we do get through this, and we will get through this, we'll be a bit scarred as a country in more ways than one. But I just hope that we all manage to look back at all the people that have helped in this scenario, and we know I hope this country has a bit of a turning on its head in relation to people that are actually doing something compared to the people that can do something that aren't doing something.
The real heroes are starting to shine through now. The unsung heroes of the NHS, they really are starting to shine through now, and they deserve every credit. That clapping that we do at 8 o'clock here in this country, I believe 7 in the States, Dave was saying, that's a mere image of what we could be doing for them to say thank you, and I think they deserve every bit of it.
Absolutely right. I live in a small village, and and about 14,000 people live in my village. And last Thursday, there's a lot of people clapping. I've just been outside today, and the noise was double the noise. So it's just going to keep getting louder and louder. I didn't realise it was going to be a weekly thing, and I really like that to show us a bit of support behind that. And no, you're right there, Dan. Well said, mate. It's a really good moment to say that. So yeah, I'm more than happy to talk to that. It'd be interesting as well if City's owners do have some links into the Excel centre. It really wouldn't surprise me, because they do seem to, the business as a group does seem to have their fingers in a lot of pies. So I really won't be surprised if we would be opening their hands to that. Chris, welcome on board again, pal. It's good to see you again.
Evening.
Hiya, pal. Yeah, you mentioned you had a couple of topics you want to discuss.
Just before that though, going on what Dan was saying then, with regards to the Excel Centre, I believe we own it. Like the City Group actually own the building, and they're allowing the NHS to use it without charge. It's free. Is that right? That's what I've read. And as a member of the NHS myself, to me, the unsung heroes really are the ones who are like the supermarket workers and the lorry drivers and the people who are actually keeping the country running. Because they're the ones who, from my point of view, working in the NHS, yes, it's nice to be appreciated, but you sign up for it as well, and it's part of your job. And we're just going in and doing it every day. The people in the supermarkets, that's not what they signed up for. It's not what lorry drivers are. I think they're the real heroes at the minute. So yeah, I think the package it should be for everyone.
Well said. I think there's a lot to be said about the logistics side and the warehousing side and the customer facing side jobs that we really the government classifies unskilled. And you can understand why they do classify as unskilled, but to be put into this danger head on and facing this on a daily basis, yeah, absolutely spot on to mention that, Chris. Well said, mate.
Yeah. The topic I was looking at is a bit more looking to the future of the City, the team itself, and more transfer based. I don't know whether it'll be an unpopular opinion.
Dan likes an unpopular opinion.
I have my reservations at the minute about City's scouting network and the transfers that we're making and the ones that we're missing. If you go back sort of 10, 15 years and you look at the players that we brought in, the likes of De Bruyne, Silva, Aguero, they've hit the ground running, they've come in, they've done the job, they've been here for 10, 15 years. The last few years, it seems that the players we're buying not necessarily have been a full-on flop, but they haven't worked. So I look at Angelino. I think he was a good financial purchase. We activated a buyback clause. Looks like we're going to sell him for a profit, but he's not filled the hole at left back, which is still a problem. Mendy, I feel sorry for him because he looked really good when he first came, but he's turned out to be a bit of a crop player, which you can't really scout for, but that's an issue we've still got at left back. Zinchenko's a makeshift. He's doing his best, but it's not in him naturally to be like that player. Mahrez, for me, whether you love him or hate him, I mean, I call him Riyad Marmite because he seems to be that love-hate player. But we bought him the season after the Centurions. We broke records for goal scoring, for chances created. Going forward, we didn't have any problems. We spent £60 million on a wide attacking player that we didn't really need at the time, when I thought other players could have been targeted, central defence, someone to cover Fernandinho. He's come all right this season, but I think he was a player that we didn't need. And I look at the players that we've kind of missed out on over the last few years. So like Van Dijk, we apparently wanted. There's the one who's gone to United. I always forget his name. The one with the big head, slab head.
Maguire.
Maguire. I don't necessarily know whether I'd want him at City, but I'm looking at players that seem to be moving around Europe, big name players that we should be looking at, and we don't seem to be making much effort to go for these players. And I look at when we bought Gabriel Jesus, he's the last player I can remember us buying outside of a transfer window. The deal was pretty much done before the transfer window opened, and it was like we identified a spot that we needed to fill. bought the player, had it all in place, ready, and then he came in when the window opened. Now, to me, we should be doing that now, and when it's quiet, when other people aren't necessarily looking at that. You've got Haaland, he's gone to Dortmund. He's got a £60 million release clause. We should be just literally waiting for a medical now with that. That should be sort of looked at and snapped up because he's a quality player. You've got, is it Martinez at Inter? I know he's got a release clause of something like 111 million euros.
Yeah.
But there's other players around there that we should be looking at. We know we need another centre-back. That hasn't been a mystery. We know we're going to need another striker in the next sort of 12 months to replace Aguero when he decides to hang his boots up. There's other parts of the field that we know we need to strengthen, but we don't seem to be making much effort, and we seem to be losing out on players.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Going back to your first one about Angelino, that was a real proper profit making sign back to sign on again. I could never really see him. I think there must have been a bit of hope there because he did start a couple of games for us, like the derby, etc. But he didn't have a greatest game. I think if he would have shined a bit better, we would have kept him. But from a financial point of view, that just seemed like a business transaction more than a football signing, more than anything. The days of City haven't been there. So basically, I could never see. So I'm going to talk in a bit about Lautaro Martinez. Was it Lautaro?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. We will never spend over £100 million on a player.
No,
I just don't think we ever will. I think that we're just not that club. I just don't think we're built on that. I think we're built on the Dave we spoke about in the past, Dan we spoke about in the past, where City are built on signing the player, like you said, Chris, rightly, under the radar, signed, sealed, done. And that you're right, that seems to have gone away a little bit. The last player I think it happened to was Laporte, where he's just completely under the radar. Before we know it, private jet, landed in Manchester Airport. He signed in a couple of days, and it was just, where's he come from? They're the types of players that I see City signing for now. I can't see signing the Haalands, can't see the Sanchos. I'd be extremely surprised if City spent over £70 million on a player.
Well, that's why I think someone like Haaland would be good. I mean, he is £60 million is his release clause. You can do that, activate it. We know he's got a love for the club. Because even after the days of when his dad had finished at City, there's still pictures of him in City shirts. You don't do that unless you have some sort of feelings for a football club.
Yeah, he went to a lot of games as well, didn't he, Haaland?
Yeah, but there's Ruben Diaz at Benfica. We've known about him for a few years. He's been obviously scouted.
Ruben Diaz, yeah, he's amazing.
52 million is his release clause as well. So £52 million for a defender in this day and age. I mean, Laporte was only 50 million. And I mean, going back to Angelino, to me, it's like any of you guys say, right, you live in your house, but it's a bit dilapidated. You need a new house. So I'll tell you what, we'll go buy this one, which is not ideal, and we'll just fix it up and sell it on, but we're not going to live in it. You're still going to live in this rundown house that at some point you're going to need to fix. You may as well just fix it in the first place. Forget faffing about. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're going to make on him, maybe £15 million profit. It's a bit of a drop in the ocean in the grand scheme of things, when we've struggled at left back for a season.
Can you ever see City? See, I'm going to use the word elite here. Now, I don't mean elite as in they're the finished products, they're the best of the best. When I say elite in this context, I mean they're every 10-year-old boy who plays football knows about them. That's the Sanchos, that's the Haalands, etc., etc. They're what I classify as, the elite players. Where you're going to sign, if we sign them, there's the financial side of it's going to cost us a lot of money on wages. And I don't think City will ever sign the Haalands of the world because everyone knows him, and he's going to be able to drive a higher costing per week and salaries. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd argue we've already got elite. You try and find me a 10-year-old boy in any country in Europe who doesn't know De Bruyne, Aguero, or Silva.
I'm not really getting to that. I know exactly where you're coming from, but when I say elite as in, I don't mean at the top of the game. I'm thinking elite as in they are going to be the next big thing, the next big thing that comes through. Obviously, De Bruyne, when he signed for City, was he elite?
No,
I don't think he was.
Not at Wolves. No, not at Wolves.
I don't think he was. And he's come now to City, and all of a sudden he's world class. That's the type of player City will sign, where they're not that elite name that's that of every schoolboy wants on the sticker book. They'll go for the players that are just coming through the ranks, who are doing all right, still in the periphery. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because Martinez, I rate Martinez. I've been doing a bit of YouTube football managing on Martinez. I think he looks like a fantastic lad. He looks like a great signing. But is he getting built up too much now, where he's going to be commanding more money per week to break the wage structure we've got?
possibly. So, Chris, the point I made we were having a little chat yesterday. The point I made is kind of really echoing what Tom is saying now, that I would love Manchester City to be that elite club where the most elite players in the world, the Messis, or there's some Portuguese guy who thinks he's really good. I've forgotten his name, Dan. You might know who it is. Or Mbappe, Sanchez. Unfortunately, and it pains me to say this, Manchester City still aren't quite at that level of when the biggest name players are available, that they're going to want to come to City. The Mbappes, the Sanchos, Ronaldos, Messi's, etc. They want to do Barca, they want to do Real Madrid, and they want to do Juventus. And we're not there right now. And to Tom's point, what we do right now, we've kind of got those. We're able to buy players who have the potential to be the best in the world, i.e. Kevin De Bruyne, i.e. Leroy Sané. So we're not quite at that level yet of being able to turn around and saying, hey, Mbappe, we've got £200 million. We're going to buy you and come to us, because much as the money is good and money's not an object, they don't actually want to come and play for Manchester City. We still don't have a Champions League under our belt yet, which I think we're always going to struggle with. And we're just not there. And, notice as well, I named 3 clubs. That other team on the other part of Manchester, they used to be part of that big thing as well. And once Ferguson left, you saw players again, probably, do I want to go and play for United? Probably not now. It's those 3. Will City ever break into that? God, I don't know. The other point that I made yesterday was, I think where we actually scored on all of this, the only player that you could say that we've ever signed who was genuinely world class before a ball was kicked is Sergio Aguero. We were lucky to get him, because if you think that he could have gone to Barca, he was never going to go to Real because of Atletico, or he could have gone to Juve. I think we absolutely stole a march on getting Sergio Aguero.
You know who else we did as well? And another person I want to stick into that bracket, Yaya Toure.
That's actually a very good call, yeah. And
how we managed to sign him what we did is I'm still amazed by that.
Yeah. And I know where you're coming from, Chris. I do, but I'm more of I don't think we're ever going to spend more than 70 million pounds on a player. And we're always going to be that club who are just below the Reals, the Barcas, the Juventuses, of getting that premium player in their prime who will come and play for us, because we're just not quite there yet.
Well, personally, I'd be quite happy if we never did make it to that sort of elitist. Because you look at the players at the side. I mean, Neymar going to Paris Saint-Germain for however many hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
The fans he takes with him, they're not Paris fans. They're just along for the ride. And I don't know whether you're the same, because I know some of you are older, probably some of you are younger, but when I first started listening to City and watching City, there were some proper dire, dark days, and we were always the underdog. And I think there's that sort of culture in City. We always liked to be the underdog. We always liked being the one that other fans seem to like against the elite. So every time we played United, people would support us if they supported Chelsea or someone else. And I don't think we'll ever become that kind of elite team because I don't think it's in our culture as City fans. Same with, I think if we built a stadium with 100,000 seats in it, I don't think we'd fill it because I don't think it's that sort of culture we've got at City. I don't think we'd ever have tourists coming taking up seats like they do at Old Trafford, like they do at Dortmund. I think that's something I hope we never end up becoming. I don't want it to be just that we'll buy him because he's a good player, but he'll sell shirts and he'll sell memorabilia.
Yeah, we'll leave that to that other club in Manchester. I completely agree with you. Yeah,
the other club in Manchester that's not been above us for 7 years.
That's the one.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, just double check. not Stockport, no. Really good topic, that, Chris. That was interesting, that, pal. That's that's got me going a bit now. I like that. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to sign Haaland, but I think with that will come a price tag and an entourage and a head and an ego the size of Manchester itself. So yeah, we'll see where we go from that.
I'll tell you one player I think we did miss out on. Daniel James. I don't like to admit it because obviously he's gone to United, but my mum's from Neath, so I've followed Swansea for the last sort of 10, 15 years. And Daniel James is a really exciting player, and I think if he'd have come to City, I think under Pep he'd have been a totally different player. He's gone to United and he's been a bit divey and a bit of a drama queen, but for the first few games, it was all pace, all clinical finishing. He was like their top goal scorer in the first 5 games.
Dangerous player, isn't he? He's dangerous when he gets on the ball.
Well, look at how he played against City last season for Swansea. He was electric, and I think, especially when you look at Sane might be on his way out, he'd have been perfect. You know, British player. He was going for 20 million. I think he's one player that we missed out on, and I think in a few more years, under Solskjaer, he might cause problems at City and at other clubs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, me and Tom have spoken a few times now about the derby. He tore Angelino a new one that game. Absolutely tore him a new one.
Dave, I think you could have tore Angelino a new one at that game.
Yeah.
I said that a lot then, didn't I? Sorry.
I flew 5,000 miles for that.
You did. Is that the game that came outside and met you?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. I should never have hugged you. Wouldn't get away with hugging these days, would you?
Not at all.
2 yards, please, people. Right, we're moving on. Quick bit of fun now. Are you ready for Who Am I?
Yeah.
Are you ready
for this? Yep.
Dave, answers at the end.
Okay.
Dave. Is that all right? Right, so what we're doing here, Chris, is I'm going to give you the clubs this player's played for. Have a think about it. At the end, we'll ask the question again. I'll forget about it. Dan will remind me, and then I'll tell you who the player is. That's how we normally do this. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Don't forget, Dan. Right, who am I? Started life off at River Plate. Moved on to Bayern Munich. Then to Malaga. Then to Atletico Madrid. Joined City. Moved on from City, went to Espanyol.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And then finished his career at Malaga. Okay, I'll start that again. River Plate, Bayern Munich, Malaga, Atletico Madrid, City, Espanyol, Malaga.
Yeah, I got it.
Have you got that?
Yeah, I know who that is.
Oh, what are you two? Dan, Chris, any ideas?
I had a couple of ideas, but no. Going through it, it's like, no.
You know what we need to do? We need to get you three with some sticky pads, some notepad and pens, and write the name down. And you can show it to the screen at the end.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We'll move on. We'll move on. It's funny you were talking about Martinez, because there's been a slow increase of gossip and news, slowly increasing over the last month or so. And let's face it, it's a slow news day, and every paper in the world is trying to make up stories about this player, this club wants this, and this club wants this. But there's loads of smoke about Martinez at the moment, and there's loads of Martinez's entourage and his agent saying this, and that, and all the rest of it. And the latest one to come out is City will gladly pay the players' release clause of £111 million, which, if that happens, I don't know what I'll do. It's not going to happen. I could say anything. It's not going to happen. So, from a Martinez point of view, what do you guys rate this lad as much as I do, or have you got any other players that you think would be better for us? Because obviously he's 22, he's Argentinian, young Argentinian striker joining City and doing well. We've heard this before, haven't we?
I'd still rather Haaland. Cheaper, younger, more of a goal threat. He's got a bit of a love for the club. And he's a slightly different option, because I think if you give Jesus the chance, I think he could operate more like Aguero has been doing. You know, that sort of a striker who can be a bit technical, do something out of nothing, link up with other players. If you look at Haaland, he's very much a get the ball to him. He's going to put the ball in the back of the net like Dzeko was. I think you players like Aguero, Martinez are much more technical, bit more pacey. But I think a bit of time, I think Jesus could fill that gap. I think he's got it in him.
Yeah, I'm looking at Haaland's stats now, and there's one major issue that I'm noticing here, and it's not the fact he was born in Leeds. We'll let him off with that, because his dad was at Leeds at the time, so we'll let him off with that. It's his agent, Raiola.
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a shit stirrer. I don't know if City. I don't even know if at the minute does City have any players that's associated with Raiola, because he seems to be trouble wherever he goes with Pogba and all the rest of it. I don't know. I just don't know. Do we
It's only one man though, isn't it?
It is, mate. But the amount of, you've only seen over what's happened over at the Swamp in the last couple of years with Pogba, and the way he can sort of cause mischief without even. Because I get the feeling Raiola would start a spending spree in an empty Tesco's with no shopping in there. He's that type of player. He's that type of manager, agent. I don't know. There's just something about him that just doesn't ring right to me. So
one person worse than Raiola though, and that's Leroy Sané's bloody mother.
Well, we've got news on that. He's no longer there. He's got a new agent. He's got new agents.
His dad?
No. No. The rumor mill has it that Leroy Sané was signed, sealed, and delivered. There's a song about that, all about joining City, and obviously this is way before the virus kicked in, and he didn't get the move he wanted to Munich. Sacked his agent, who he believes is his relative. And his mum, is that right? Yeah. And then he's gone to a proper agency now, and the proper agency is advising him to stay where he is to build his career up. So you read between your lines on what goes in and what goes out. But if that's the truth, then Raiola wouldn't do that.
No, but see, for me, I'm torn between the love of the player he is and the fact that I can't wait to get rid of him, purely on the fact that he's kept us as fans waiting, and we're still waiting a decision of his future. Everybody knows he's the number one contract talk this season. We know Silva's going, so we don't have to worry about that. Any other player, such as Aguero, they've still got a year on the contract. We sort of know his plans. But Leroy Sané, he's got the potential to be probably one of the best left wingers of his generation. And it's almost frustrating. He's getting to that point where he could even dampen his own career by not having the choice he wants put forward. If he wants to leave, do a Riyad Mahrez, say, I want to leave. You'll eventually get your move. And City aren't one for waiting around and, taking the mickey and stuff like that. If a player wants to go, we get rid of him. I can't remember the last player that's ever said to anybody at the club saying, I want to go, and has stayed for a long time. Tevez, you could argue, a bit of a pain in the backside about that, but I'm not gutted that he stayed for as long as he did, because what a cracking player he was. But Sané just needs to come out now, even with all the current climate and everything that's happening in the world, needs to come out and just say, I either want to stay or want to leave, so he can just sort his own career out. And yeah, I'm torn between the love of the guy and just a pain in the ass that he's been.
Well, Sané's contract expires next June.
Mhm.
Right, so we've got a year and a bit left of what's going to happen. So how much is he worth at the minute? 90 million? 100 million?
Yeah.
Topping 100, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, would you say that? Would you say that's fair?
Say that's fair.
Is that going to depreciate in the next couple of months? God knows what's going to happen in the next couple of months football-wise. I think football will be a completely different game after all this is over, but I'll come on to that in a minute. It's a tough one to say this because I don't think there's many clubs in the world that's going to have a lot of money to spend that kind of money in the next year. I think if I was Sané and I would see his contract in front of City, I'd think I'm going to get that signed now. I'm going to give myself a 3-year extension and see what happens after a year or two because I don't think there's going to be many clubs with that kind of money at the end of all this.
No. Well, bear in mind as well, these German clubs are self-sustaining. They don't have huge benefactors, which we're kind of allowed to do in most European countries. Very difficult. That's why Dortmund are able to buy relatively cheap, but then they sell high, and then they reinvest that money.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich are somewhat along the same lines as well. They just don't spend that kind of money that we would want for Sané. So if this is true, Tom, I'm all for it. I'm kind of with Dan that, he needs to sort this out. But I'll be very, very pleased if Sané stays because I think he's a wonderful player. And we have up there with Laporte for me. That's particularly since Sterling really went off the boil for us. My God, have we missed Sané. And thank God we had Mahrez who kind of somewhat stepped into those shoes a little bit and turned it on this season.
Yeah, my thoughts on Mahrez. I've really enjoyed watching him this season. Really enjoyed watching him. I'm going to put my what's it on the block, and I'm going to say Sané is going to stay for another 3 years. I do. I think if he was going to go, I think there would have been more fire somewhere about it. I just think it's all the press. I just think it's his agent trying to get more money out of it. I don't think he's not committed to leaving. He's not committed to staying. He's done exactly. Do you know what? He's done exactly what I would do. I'm on X amount of grand per week. Where can I get the most money? He has no loyalty to City. If anything, he's got more loyalty to a German club because he's German. So he's thinking to himself, right, where can I get more money? And what can I do to get the most money out of City at the moment? But now I'm thinking to myself, if I was Sané, right, okay, let's be real about this. Like you say, Dave, German clubs self-sustaining. They're very much in the same mindset as City by not that elite player. We're going back onto that in a minute, and we'll spend less and sell for higher profits. City have got a massive benefactor behind us for subsidising our club, which will obviously help bankroll Sané's new contract. I think if I was Sané, and if he's got anything about him, any sense whatsoever, he'd be signing up to a contract extension in the next couple of months, without question.
Can I point out that it might actually be the club that's holding back?
Oh, go on. Go on.
I know I mentioned I work for the NHS. Up until Christmas just gone, I worked in operating theatres at Wrightington Hospital, and it's a specialist centre for orthopaedic surgery, and they have some of the best surgeons in the country that do ACL reconstructions. I also ruptured my ACL just over 12 months ago, and I know full well you're never the same afterwards. Now, if you look at the injury Laporte sustained, obviously, yes, they've got access to the best medical treatment and aftercare and physios. He did have a little bit of a niggle. It was unrelated to his original injury. It wasn't the same injury that he's done, but all that time off, other parts of your body start to deteriorate a bit. It's not as strong. If I was City, I'd be looking at him. Yes, Sané is a wonderful talent. He's an exciting player. I'd love to have him at City. I'd love to have him, a good 10, 15 years, become a true legend, which I think he's capable of. But in the back of my mind, there's just something telling me that what would happen if, we give him the big contract, the big 5-year deal, and say the first month of next season starts and something happens again.
Do you know what, Chris? I knew it was a good idea getting you on this. What a really good point that is.
So his question is, do you cash in and get your 70, 80 million you could do, or do you take a chance, give him the contract and,
That's a really good shout,
It's a good point, Chris. Because
if you look at our youth academy, I've heard a lot of stuff about that Braff who's a left winger.
He looks good.
You know, it's not as if we're, oh, right, Sane's not there. What do we do? We do have other players. Again, maybe not as naturally gifted as such. Maybe not the same sort of talent, the distracting hairstyle of Sane, but we are Man City. We're not a one-man team anymore. I remember the days when, if Company was injured, that's it. We'd lose or draw the next 5 games. If Tevez was out, we wouldn't score. That's been all last season, yeah.
We're still screwed. He's not playing for us anymore.
Well, there you go. 112 million. You could have Haaland up front and Diaz at the back. You'd be sorted.
Oh, do you know that's like a Manchester's Blue wet dream on the podcast right there. I'd like that. That'd be an interesting show, wouldn't it, on a Thursday if that happened?
And then just for Christmas as well.
Yeah.
Ship Mahrez off to Dortmund and we'd swap him with £30 million for Sancho and get him back. Merry Christmas.
That's ambitious, pal. Right, we're going to we've kind of digressed a little bit there, but we're going to move on because I'm going to do a bit of remember the last couple of weeks we've been doing player reviews for defenders. We're going to talk about midfielders now. We've got 4 midfielders in the offing. We're going to start first with we've got Ilkay. Now this is a funny one because Zinchenko still clashes as a midfielder, Rodri and KDB. So we'll go first with Dan. How do you think Ilkay's done this week? And what we're doing, Chris, we're marking the players out of 10 for how you think they've done so far this season.
Okay.
Well, my thoughts on Ilkay. He's don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but he's just not for me a City player. I can't, still to this day, don't know if he's a more defensive or a more attacking midfielder. He just doesn't. Partly down to Guardiola. Guardiola doesn't have that sort of just central midfield role. He likes his midfielders to do different work ethics, and work our way around the pitch. But he's just, again, he's a frustrating player because we know he has it in the bag to have a better performance sometimes than KDB. He really can pull the game out of his ass, basically, and take the game to the opposition. But at the same time, he can be one of the laziest and most useless players in that midfield. And I'm not even holding back because I'd be hesitant to say that I don't like the guy as a football player because that would be wrong because, like I said, he can pull games out of the bag, but I just don't like him as a City player. But the games he has played, majority of them have been good, but I'm still only going to give him a 6.5 this season.
Crikey. You didn't hold back there, did you?
Well, I'd put it this way, I'd much prefer to see Zinchenko in the midfield than him.
Interesting. Come on, Chris, what's your thoughts on Ilkay?
Well, to be honest, I think Dan's been a bit generous.
Right.
I'm much more blunt. I've said it a few times recently on radio. I've had discussions about Ilkay. I honestly think he is the most boring midfielder in the Premier League. He's not known for his passing. He's not known for tackling. He's not known for set pieces. He's not known for controlling a game. He scored a penalty. I thought, we might have found something, and then he went and missed one. He's just, in my opinion, I think he's a crap James Milner. Wow. And I think, considering we got rid of James Milner for free, and he's still doing it at Liverpool, whether you like him or not, he can play anywhere. He comes in and does a job. I thought Gundogan could have just been the player to come in and do a job, but he's a bit like King Clancy used to be. He's like frustrating. 1 minute he'd be fine. He'd just pull a goal out of nowhere and do well. I believe he did quite well in the derby. But then in other matches, it's like, it's just like, what are you doing? So to be honest, I'd honestly give him a 4.5 if I'm honest.
Crikey!
Wow.
I just
thought
don't
I was
rate him at
controversial.
I don't rate him at all.
You just put Ilkay Gundogan in the same bracket as King Clancy, which I'm not going to go on at this podcast.
And then gave him a 4.5.
We'll move on quickly with that. Dave, are you? What do you think, Dave? I'm a bit shell-shocked at these.
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere between Dan and Chris. I'm not a huge Gundogan fan. As I've said many times now, he's a midfielder. He's not an attacking midfielder. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's just a 1990s, like a Steve McMahon midfielder, right?
Well, before he was folded or after he folded?
Back in the 90s, there wasn't even attacking midfielders and defensive midfielders. You just had a bloody midfield. That was it. And I think Pep Guardiola has got Gundogan playing a midfield position that he's just not comfortable with. He didn't play it at Dortmund, and he didn't for the first couple of seasons really have to play that role at Manchester City as well, because we had all of our players fit. Now he's being asked to do a defensive role or more of an attacking role if, De Bruyne's out injured or, Fernandinho's not playing. And I think he struggles with that. I think he's done a job for us. I agree. I think, my God, if you had the choice between Milner and Gundogan, I think that's a very, very good example. You'd probably pick Milner every time because he's more versatile, more at the game. So, based on that, he is very frustrating because he will every so often have a very, very good game, and he's a good player. I'm going to go right in the middle. I'll go 5 out of 10.
I'd have him left back.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd have him left back. Left back in changing rooms. Get him off the bloody pitch.
Oh, he's not that bad.
He's not that bad.
He's one of those players, and I'm still on the fence with him. I've seen him have some brilliant games. I've seen him have some absolute shockers. I know what you mean by not a City player. I understand where you're going with that. For me, I'm not going to give ratings. I don't do ratings. But for me, my biggest issue with him is I don't know if he's a defensive midfielder or he's an attacking midfielder, and I'm still confused. I don't think he knows.
That's the big problem.
And that's the thing for me. It's like where do you play, mate? You're not. I don't want to see an attacking midfield. Defensive midfield, we've got better. We've got Fernandinho and Rodri. So it's kind of like, is he the utility player? And if he is, then yeah, why do we sell Milner?
The only way I'd ever see him play well is if we had Fernandinho and De Bruyne playing either side of him in that midfield. You got De Bruyne pushed up and Fernandinho more defensive, and then Gundogan sat in the midfield, banging between them, educating play between them. I think it probably worked better, obviously, with this season with Rodri, because Rodri's not being able to do the Fernandinho side of things where he can interact the defence with the attack. And I think Gundogan would have probably been more versatile in helping Rodri push from defence to attack, therefore pushing De Bruyne further up the pitch. But I think that's the only way you'd ever get the best out of Gundo.
Let's be honest, Dan, as well. If any of us four were playing between Fernandinho and De Bruyne, we'd have a fucking good game as well, probably. Wouldn't you agree?
Great shout.
I'd put them both to shame. I've never even kicked a ball in my life.
Right, let's move on. We've put Ilkay on an average score of 5.5 out of 5 there. So we're going to the utilitarian Zinchenko. What we thought. Dave, we'll start with you with this one.
God, this season, he's been injured a lot of the time anyway. Still not really had that chance to shine in a midfield role, which I think long term is still going to be incredibly difficult for him, even when Silva leaves. If we keep that midfield together, I still don't know where he's going to get a place apart from maybe the odd League Cup game or FA Cup game or whatever. So just not seen a great deal of him this season. He's competent enough. He's okay. He's certainly not the answer to that left-back role if Mendy is not going to make that his own over the next 12 months. God, Zinchenko, probably give, from what I've seen him in this season, he's been okay. 6 out of 10.
12 games he's played.
Yeah.
12 Premier League games, 2 Champions League games, 2 League Cup games, 1 FA Cup game, 18 in total.
Yeah, I'm going to go 6 out of 10.
Okay. Chris?
I like Zinchenko. He is a very versatile player. He obviously joined City quite young, obviously with the idea of he was going to play his favourite sort of left wing, left midfield sort of role. He's been asked to do a job at left back, and he's just got on with it and done it. I believe he did have the opportunity at one point to go elsewhere, and he said no. He wanted to stay at City. He wanted to stay there and fight for his place. And I think that that kind of shows in his performances. Because no, he's not the best. But you look at the effort he puts in. I would never say I've seen him in a game where he lacks effort. Or you could say, oh, he's not tried today. I think he tries every week. And obviously for the Ukrainian team, he plays more midfield, sort of defensively. So he has got that versatility, which I think is quite handy in our squad. He is still young. I'd give him quite a solid 7.
Solid 7. And what we're thinking?
I might have to go with an NA, really. I can see him, and you've heard me big him up almost as much as Jesus this season. I could see him filling in a very important attacking midfield role, because albeit when he plays for the Ukrainian, agree with Chris, he's more of not so much a defensive midfielder, but he's more positioned to that style. He runs that Ukrainian midfield. He's a captain of that team. He's showing leadership traits for me. I'm not saying he's going to be next in line for captain. I don't think he'll ever be a City captain. But I can see him being a long-term prospect for the club. And it's been a hindrance on him that he's had to play most of his City career so far today at left-back, because from exactly what Chris is saying, he never lacks effort. He's just always running. He may have a really bad game, but he doesn't shy away from it. You see it on his social media posts. He apologises. He knows he's had bad games. And he always comes out training, next match, whatever it is, fighting and running and never stopping. And for me, I'd go for a 5, only because I don't want to give him a worse score or a better score because of the games he's played, the performances he's played. So just a 5 for me. But honestly, God, I can see him being an important midfield player in the future.
Did my ears deceive me, or did you say 8 to start with?
8.
Did you not say 8?
No, NA.
Oh, and
N/A.
Sorry. Right, okay. It's the language barrier there, pal. Right, okay, so we're going for an average 6 out of 10 there. We're happy with that. All right, smashing.
Not fair enough.
Rodri. Rodri's next. Rodri, for me, is... he's 23, 24, something like that.
23.
23. Yeah. I think he's had a positive start. He's had a really good start for somebody who's coming into a Pep team, who's young, who Pep's teams always notoriously need a good year to get the player up to speed with how they play. I'm really excited. I was looking forward to watching Mahrez this year from last year. I'm looking forward to watching Rodri next year. He's my player to watch for next year, and I cannot wait to watch him. I'm really excited.
Agreed.
I think from what I've seen, he's not. For me, I'd put between 7 and 9, maybe an 8 for Rodri. But let's go with you, Dan. What's your thoughts on Rodrigo?
Definitely a solid 8 for me. Pushing up to 8.5 if must. He's a player that I think he was going to have that Mahrez style play where he just sort of been positioned into the squad eventually. But obviously everything that's happening with defence and Fernandinho going there, I think he's in some retrospect been thrown in at the deep end because he's still had to learn the trade. He's still very, very young, and to play for the champions of England in a very efficient work, fast-paced midfield, and to be that Fernandinho role of breaking up the defence, straight onto attack. For me, from what we've seen on it, he's done very well, and completely agree. I can't wait to see him next season. So an 8 out of 10 for me.
Do you think Rodri expected to play this many games this season?
No, not a shadow. No.
I've just had a look at his stats. He's played minutes-wise. I've lost it. 2,934 minutes. So he's played 39 games in total. 26 in the Premier League, 6 in the Champions League, 4 in the League Cup, 2 in the FA Cup, and 1 in the Community Shield. He's played a lot of games there for somebody who's kind of the replacement for Fernandinho.
Yeah.
He must have done. I think he's done quite well there for himself.
Yeah. Very. And to Dan's point, that's not Guardiola's style. We've not seen that before of a player be purchased and be almost, to Dan's point, be thrown in at the deep end. That okay, now you're going to be playing week in, week out. Guardiola rarely does that with any player, of playing them so frequently, particularly when they're new to the club. But we've not had a choice. Because of injuries, we've had to put Rodri in there, and I think based on those issues that we've had, the performances that he put in have been absolutely phenomenal. And the guy, I've said this before, the guy's a unit as well. He is built like a brick shithouse, and that's what you need. You need that steel. And I think he's only going to get better and better and better as he really understands the English game and the way that Manchester City are as a club and the way we like to play football. I think he's a wonderful player. What I want to see from him next season is kick on. And he scored a couple of goals this season. I would like him to be that defensive midfielder who brings in 10 goals across all competitions on a season basis, because he's got that in his locker. He can bang in goals because he's got right shot on him from outside the box, but use that height and strength in the box as well and get on these headers. He should win 10 goals a season. He's
got three this season and 1 assist. So it's a good start. It's a good solid start for me. Dave, what were you thinking out of 10?
Yeah, I definitely, after what I just said, I was going to go 7, but I think with everything that he's faced coming into the club as well, he deserves an 8.
Yeah, I'm more than happy with that. And Chris?
I
know. No, the way I really like Rodri. I really do like him. He's come in, and like you said, he has played a lot more games than I think anyone expected. I think a lot of us expected him to be playing against the sort of the weaker clubs and be on the bench while Fernandinho took the reins against, the more challenging teams. But obviously, because of the defensive issues we've had, just as a devil's advocate, I don't know whether that's just because we've been forced to put Fernandinho at the back, or whether it's a bit of genius by Pep. I'm not Pep's massive, I'm not a massive full-on Pep fan, which is another story entirely. But if you think you've got Fernandinho as the legend that he is in defensive midfield, you play him now directly behind his successor. After matches, if there's anything he thinks he's seen that he could have, I'd have done this, I'd have done that, that's where he can pick up on it, because he's watching the whole time. And I think you guys should agree, Rodri has improved throughout the season. He's got better, and you could almost argue he deserves a statue because he scored a header from a corner. When do we ever score from corners? We're Man City. We walk the ball into the back of the net, or bang them in from 30 yards out. We don't score from corners unless you're Richard Dunn and you're defending one. It's one of them. He's a tremendous player. He's so young. I think he's got a good career ahead of him at City. I like the fact that he's Spanish, because we seem to have quite a few Spanish players. I'd like to see Garcia behind him in a few years and them linking up well. I've got to give him a solid 8. Solid 8, and that's only in the hope that he is going to get much better.
Fantastic. Right, we're coming on to a player now, the last player who is quite possibly the only player who could outshine an 8 out of 10 here, Kevin De Bruyne. I don't think there's many superlatives I can give him, so I'm going to let you three start here. Who wants to go first on Kevin? I'm going to put some scores down, and I'll tell you what you put in.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So what I think you're scoring. So we'll go with Dan first.
A 3. You're not getting that one, mate, are you? No, there's no word that can describe him, really, is there? He is just the pinnacle of everything we've strived to bring in as a player, and if not, he's more than that. And as much as I could talk about him, how fantastic he is, out of the goals he scores, the play he does, the tactical masterclass that he brings to every game. There's one bad thing, then me and Dave argue about this, both agreeing every time. It's just play him in his position every game, and he'd be 100 times the player that he is already. But this season, once again, he's stepped it up in a team that's not so much failed or lacked in such pedigree. He's just stepped up his personal game, and the games he's played fantastic. But I'd go for an 8.5, because he still had the odd game where he's just not turned up. And me and Dave always say when he doesn't turn up, City don't turn up, and there's been plenty of games that have highlighted that. So an 8.5 for me.
8.5, Chris.
For me, the quality I really admire about De Bruyne more than anything is sort of his leadership skills. I'm just sat here thinking now, I can see sort of a Malcolm Allison kind of role in him. I think if you give him the captaincy, I don't think it'd work. But he doesn't need to be the captain to be able to tell other players he's not happy. He's happy to have a go, say people aren't making the effort. He's happy to pat them on the shoulder, tell them when they're doing well, and he's happy to lead by example as well, without having the band around his arm. He's got the quality. He can hit a set piece. I think there is more to come from him. I don't think he's actually hit his peak yet. And I can't wait to see the days when it's just him and Foden absolutely dominating the midfield. I'm going to give him a 9.5.
Yeah.
Just hoping that there's another half. There's something he can press on and wow us even more, because I think that's the sort of player he is. We think we've seen it all, and then one day he'll just do something out of nothing.
Yeah, sounds good. Dave?
Yeah. So they talk about now, don't they, this, complete midfielder. We hear Carragher and Redknapp, etc., kind of talking about this on Sky Sports. And, he probably Kevin De Bruyne, probably in the modern game, epitomizes that, because he can do absolutely everything. And, we go back to Gundogan. He can't do absolutely everything in the midfield role. But when you look at De Bruyne, he can absolutely do. He's up there for me with Zidane. I love pure footballers, technical footballers who can spot the pass, have got vision, awareness, and he's just got all of that in spades. One of the best players of all time, in my opinion. And my God, what a masterstroke to buy him from Wolfsburg. And if you remember the crap that Manchester City got when we signed him for 55 million, what a waste of money, and what he couldn't make it at Chelsea. He's the world's most complete midfielder. And when you can say that he would walk into any of those teams I mentioned before, he would make Juventus, Barcelona, or Real Madrid better if he joined any of those three clubs. And you can't say that about many players in the world. He, for me, is when he's played in the right position, and that's my little niggle with Pep Guardiola, that he has this tendency with De Bruyne sometimes. He needs him in the squad, needs him in the team, but sometimes he plays him not in the right position, and that drives me insane. When he's on song, he's playing right. I mean, he's a 9 out of 10 for me every time.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I was a little bit out. Dave, I put you 9 out of 10. Chris, I put you at 8. You went for 9.5. And Dan, I put you as a 10. Going for an 8.5. I thought you'd have gone higher for that. For me, it's a tough one. This, I'd find it very hard to give any player higher than a 9, purely unless we win multiple trophies and that player's scored multiple goals. And for me, he's the best player, one of the best players I've seen. Watch City. He's one of the best players I've seen play for City in a long time. The bracket of him and David Silva was so lucky to be in the generation where we've seen him play.
Agreed.
But for him to get a 10 out of 10 season, he needs to be coming back with a Champions League winners medal, Premier League winners medal, and he needs to have dragged us through games where we've been losing, and I've not seen that from him this season. But don't get me wrong, I love the lad so much. I'm so glad he's ours. I just can't wait for next season now, so we can put this season out to bed, put it to rest, put it to pasture, put it to stud. Let's crack on with next season now and see what he can do with us.
Yeah, we're going to batter everyone next season. I'm absolutely positive about that.
Cannot wait. Well, we're done there, guys. That's a really good. So what have we averaged there? 9.5 out of 10. No, it's not 9.5. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Okay, cool. So that's it, pretty much, lads. We're going to go on to the not finished yet. Down boy. I'm not finished. We're going to come to the last bit of Who Am I? I'll put a note at the end of my notes here just to remind myself. Gently off. Right, so who thinks they've got it?
Me.
Me, I think.
You think? Right, okay.
Yeah.
We need some way of writing this down so you can show the page at the same time. So I'm going to run through the teams again. Starting off at River Plate. So you got a nationality there straight away, I would think.
Yeah. Oh, I know who this is.
Went to Bayern Munich. Went from Germany to Spain to Malaga. Then to Atletico Madrid. Left Madrid, came to City, where he's played 78 games, scored 3 goals, so that could give you an idea of position. Left City, went to Espanyol, and then to Malaga.
See, I think I've got it wrong now because the Atletico Madrid bit I missed out.
I know who it is.
I think I've got it.
Go on, Dave. I think Dave's confident.
This is Martin Di Michelis.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah.
Because, and the reason that throws you, Dan, is he joined Atletico Madrid and he didn't play a game for them. So Pellegrini swooped in before he even played a game.
Correct.
He went to Atletico on a free, and then we bought him for 4.3 million.
Correct. Didn't even play one. Didn't even kick the ball for them.
Yeah. Good
Oh,
player.
glad I wasn't wrong in some way.
It
Iconic ponytail, wasn't he?
was a good one, that wasn't it?
Good one. Very good.
Lads, pleasure as always. We will speak on
Absolutely.
Monday, hopefully, if you're around.
Can I ask one quick question before you go, guys?
Absolutely, yeah.
Really quick, just an either-or scenario that I've seen floating around.
Oh, I like these. Go on.
So you have a choice now, yeah? You can either carry on, finish this season, and watch Liverpool win the Premier League, and we get to see David Silva one more time play competitively, or we scrap the season, Liverpool miss out, and you have to settle for seeing him in a testimonial.
Right. Can I answer this?
Yep. Anyway.
Yes, really, it's a great question. For me, Liverpool have already won the league. I think with what's happened, it's sincerely unfair with them being so. They've been better than us in every department. They're 25 points ahead of us. From a banter point of view, the idea of them not winning the league, absolutely, that would keep me up all night laughing. Honestly, I would be. I've got so many Liverpool fan friends. They would be sick to death. That's the only reason why I'd love it not to happen. Just to be able to phone them morning and afternoon and laughing down the phone at them. But let's be fair, Liverpool deserve to win the league. They've absolutely smashed it at the minute. So the idea of seeing David Silva against Norwich, which would have been the last game of the season, I was looking forward to that more than any game this season. Just because I wanted to give him the send off. So for me, given the title now, let me see David play one more time, and I can say goodbye to him then.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's going off to pasture, doesn't it? But you know what I mean? Yeah. What do you think? What do you guys think?
Speaking of David Silva, I just really hope that he sticks to his guns and he goes back to the Canary Islands and he plays for his local team, which he said all along is the reason why he'd leave City. I don't like all this stuff that I'm hearing about maybe doing a 2-year contract at Inter Miami with Beckham. I don't want him to do that. I want him to do what he said he was going to do. Play on the world stage, be one of the best midfielders that Spain's ever produced, earn your medals. He doesn't need the money. Go back to the Canary Islands now and support your, is it Las Palmas?
Yeah.
Is that who it is?
Las Palmas.
Support your local team. He's an absolute legend. And for me, the best player ever to put on a City shirt. But he will taint that in my eyes just that little bit if he goes for the money somewhere else and he doesn't go and said what he said he was going to do and go back to the Canary Islands.
Did he start saying that though before going to America became an option?
Yeah.
I think he said it for a long time that was always his.
Going back 4 or 5 years at least since he's had it in his ideas.
It was always wanted to do that. And I know this has come about now, but God, don't be one of these players. You know, I live here. Don't be one of these players who comes here, you know, for one last final pay packet. He's worth more than that. He's better than that, in my opinion. This MLS is crap. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how bad it is. It's
Calling you Portland.
national.
Could you see him play if he came over there?
Would I go and see him play?
Yeah, would you go and watch him?
Well, I mean, I probably would, just because it's David Silva, but I wouldn't enjoy the game because it's that bad. Every MLS team basically has one good player who they spend all the wages on, and then the rest of them are all, you know, these college kids who are, you know, because there's an MLS draft, and they all come through that. It's poor.
Listen, do you know what, Chris? That's a really good question, that, mate. I really enjoyed that question. You've asked some belters. Well,
There is a pick-me-up point to all this, though, isn't there? If you think about it, we could be sat here in 15 years' time doing a podcast, and we'll be talking about El Mago's little boy. He'll be 17, 18 years old. Kun Aguero's got a little boy. He'll be playing for City. I mean, look, he's got some stuff to live up to. His dad's Aguero. His granddad's Maradona.
KDB.
So we've got to sign him up now. Company's got Sterling's little boy. I've seen him on Facebook. He's already scoring goals. Yeah. We've got the best under-3s football team in the country by a long way.
Let's not talk about little Archie. Dan's youngest.
Yeah, we got.
Oh yeah.
He'll be captain.
My
He'll be
little lad as well. I want him playing.
That's a really good shout, actually. Do you know what? We should do that as a podcast.
Baby Blues.
Baby Blues, and see like, who's the kids and who could be like the next things, and see where they go from there. That'd be interesting. Is Foden's kid a boy or a girl? Do we know?
Little boy, isn't it?
Boy.
Yeah. Little boy. There you go. Straight away. He's probably the same size as Foden now.
And remember, Chris, as well, that Aguero's son's godfather is Lionel Messi.
And his grandfather is Diego Maradona.
Yeah. So no pressure at all.
I'll tell you what. I'll say it now live on the podcast. I put £5 on that he ends up playing rugby for Argentina, just to annoy the lot of them.
His dad will be really disappointed when he decides to be a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Maradona won't be, will he?
Okay, very quick. Right, we're going. Lads, lovely as always. I'll speak to you next week.
All right. Take care.
All the best,
Take care,
boys.
guys.
See you
Stay
soon.
safe.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.